Crying, rising, burning, and rebuilding are the things I feel and want to do when I listen to their music. Relentless and so recognizable, blessing us with 2 new songs, Nothing Gold and Death Keeps Us From Living, but waiting on the full release of their newest album, Embrace the Infinity. Welcome to the Scandalous Podcast. Singer, screamer, growler, Anthony from After the Burial. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, eventually. You have long days. You have very full, long days, right?
Yeah. I know it's a little pain in the butt to get this scheduled, but here we are. Finally, we're doing it.
Hey, I like to suffer for good things in my life. I don't want everything handed to me.
And it's not worth it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it took a little while to schedule and it's first episode back in a while. So it's you're just talking about me being from Austin. We're very hokey like that. We're very woo-woo. So that would be the universe putting us in a holding pattern to serve our best good. Yeah.
All right, I like it.
That's it. That's what we would call that in Austin. So let's get to the new songs. There's a lot to talk about. The breakdown, the breakdowns, the breakdown. Nothing Gold is all encompassing and epic and a beautiful song. Reading my favorite lyrics from the song, I thought would be a good way to start. And then we'll read some YouTube comments and then give you the opportunity to talk about the song in your own words. Does that sound good to you?
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Okay. Oh, good. Yeah, if you said no, I'd be screwed so bad. All right. Whose blood is this on my hands? The color doesn't look so divine. Feels the same, rusted taste resembled mine. Down we go, feel defeat, the lies, the dreams, all we've known. Suffocate, annihilate, every meaning, every feeling I've lost. Nothing gold can stay. Wow.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And it was really timely. I mean, music always finds you when you need it, but I just had like a milestone birthday. And I was just like, okay, everything. I circled back to a few things in my life and I was like, okay, it's been a lot to me. Are we keeping it? Are we keeping it? Are we keeping it? And the answer was no. And I got rid of a few things in my life and just kind of listening to that song for the first time was like, this song gets it. And that's just, one person in the world, but that was really a special moment for me, kind of memorializing something that I can't hold on to in my life anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's do some YouTube comments that I grabbed. Thousands and thousands and thousands of views in just a few days. And a few comments are, I feel like After the Burial truly holds the crown for metalcore. Great compliment.
That's a good compliment.
Yeah, there's lots of competition. I mean, I love a lot of friends.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there's so much good music and we're just having a resurgence, it feels like right now. Riffs melt my heart like no other, forever my comfort band. Love that one. 2008 riff vibes with some sick atmospheric layers, fast, punchy, creative breakdowns with emotional vocals. This is the type of song that fills you with inspiration. And I think I'll leave it right there with just feeling someone with inspiration. I think that's awesome. So how did the lyrics come for you and how did the music come and what does that song mean to you?
Well, Nothing Gold was actually written in 2020. It was right when the pandemic hit. All our tours got canceled and we had actually been off for about, I want to say 6-7 months. And it was the winter and I was up in New Jersey with Will Putney in his studio. And it was winter out and the trees had nothing on them. It was very cold and desolate. And as far as I knew, the music industry was dead. I thought maybe, I didn't know if we were ever going to come back, so, when that song was given to me, Trent was like, hey, Trent, our guitar player was like, hey, here's the new song, listen to it. He handed it to me. I went upstairs, I was looking out this window and I could see all these trees that were just gone and, they'd shed all their leaves and stuff. And that melody in the background of the song, that like eerie melody just was like calling to me. And some songs are a lot of work and some songs just fly out of you. And that song, for some reason, just flew out of me. And it was this whole approach, whose blood is this on my hands? I'm not sure. The color doesn't look so divine. It feels the same consistency and pigment. The rusted taste resembles that of mine. So I was like painting this picture of like, um, just someone that had blood on their hands, and obviously they killed a god, so to speak, or they killed someone that thought they were divine or something that maybe was divine. And to realize that that's no different. That's no different from me and you. We are all the same. So it was like the rusted taste resembles that of mine. So when that song was written, um, it kind of just was like this, instead of me trying to like build a song, or like I was just pretending to be something I wasn't. So the whole song has this very like almost nihilistic view on life, that like embrace this, like embrace letting go, embrace that nothing lasts forever, embrace it, like don't fight it, just be one with it. And if you let go and you kind of just enter the void and fall into it, then maybe you'll find happiness instead of trying to control everything. Like that's how I am. I couldn't control the music industry. I couldn't control what was happening to the world. I couldn't control what was happening to me and the way I was feeling. All I could do was just try to talk about it. And that's kind of what happened. So that's kind of where the song came from. And for me, it's like, I feel like the song's kind of a slow burn for some people. Like I feel like people listen to it like, yeah, it's a good song. I'm like, yeah, that song was good. And they'll text me like a couple days later, like, dude, the song, I can't get it out of my head. It's like, it's an earworm. So it's like, I don't know. It's just, to me, that song is like, it's After the Burial. It's like one of the best songs I've ever written. That's how I feel. And that doesn't always mean that it's our biggest, best songs, because some of the songs that I've written in the past that are like my favorite to me are the ones that don't get that many plays, but so far people seem to be liking it. And as far as those YouTube comments go, it's kind of like reinforcing that, so it's a nice feeling.
So that feels so much heavier than I could have imagined, and deeper. And we kind of forget what it felt like during the beginning of the pandemic, what it did to all of us, missing music and having so much uncertainty, and I haven't really thought about in a while what like we almost lost, we lost so much. And like, I kind of feel like I've taken for granted that like music is back and shows are back, but like, God, just kind of remembering that feeling and how you guys all felt and how we felt. Like, I forget how close we were to like losing it all. That's,
yeah. And
I was thinking about like when you were saying that, it was like how quickly we forget, right?
yeah, for me, it also like kind of, it sucks because I think back, I'm like, God, it was such a hard time. And we had so many cool tours lined up in 2020. And I had so many like plans. Like I had like crazy plans, like with my family and stuff. And it just stopped all that. And I almost, it's like bittersweet, because if I'm being honest, like we were touring so much. I've been in the band for 14 years, and we had been touring so much, and hard touring, like touring in a van in a trailer for a long part of our career. And we were finally like on our way, and I started to get burned out like towards the end. You have a really cute dog. But I started to get burned out, and this kind of like reignited everything for me, just like it made me like, it's that old saying, like, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And like now I'm just like, I'm like, okay, this chapter is not written. I don't want to end it here. I want to keep going. There's more. I have unfinished business. I want to do this. Like this next record is like, um, I'm not going to like settle for anything on this next record. Like if there's a part in the song where I'm like, that's all right. Like, yeah, that's good enough. There's no good enough. It's got to be great or it's going in the garbage can. Like I'm not, this one's too important to me. So it's kind of neat.
Well, yeah. So is the record finished right now? Are you guys recording? Are you still writing it? Because I was wondering about that.
Yeah, we're still writing. So we have a lot of work to do still. We have a good chunk of songs and they're really great songs. Like, I mean, there's some really fun ones in there. And like I said, like there's songs that after the burial, every time we've written a record, I call them shotgun records, you know, like a shotgun wedding. Like we get in there, we have 30 days to write and record an album, and that's what we do. And that's what we did for Wolves Within. That's what we did for Dig Deep. That's what we did for Evergreen. And this is the first time ever where we actually have an opportunity to sit and digest these songs and think about the parts and be like, okay, listen back and be like, no, now that I've taken a step away from it, I can come back and be like, I can do that better. So I've have these songs like, you know, even Death Keeps Us From Living. Like I had, you know, these songs and I was able to rewrite parts and like, oh, I can do it better. I can do this better. And I can do, you know, and like, I've never had that opportunity before. Like with our old records, like I hate to say it, but like sometimes it was like, okay, this part's good enough because I have 6 more songs to write and there's 14 days left. You know what I mean? Like, so, this time it's not. And like, I have like, you know, I wish I had more songs to share with everyone because there's some really freaking cool songs we have right now. But we had to choose 2 and these were the 2 we chose for now. But there's songs where I'm just like, man, I got to sit with it and like really think about it and redo the parts, delete parts and make it even better. And it's like, I feel like, okay, well, at least I know that what I'm giving the world this time, or what we're giving our fans this time, is like the best version of ourselves. And if that doesn't work, or if it does work, then great. But at least I know I gave it like everything I had.
That's so exciting. And I love that you have that opportunity. It's like being excited for the new record. It's kind of exciting that you can still be influenced and you can like, it's not all done. There's like kind of some excitement as a fan knowing that like it's still being worked on, it's still being, you know, done. That's kind of exciting to think about. Your artists are like writing right now. Like that's exciting to think about.
Yeah, like even Nothing Gold, the chorus, nothing gold can stay, what's dead is done. That wasn't the chorus. Like for like a year and a half, there was a whole different chorus. And I still know the chorus in my head and it's completely different. And it's really dark and like, and it's still cool, but it just wasn't the right one. So like, you know, even then, like when we're like, hey, we think we need to change this, I was like, oh shit, this is going to be hard because I've had this version of the song in my head for so long. But we changed it. And I do actually have a demo of the first version of the song, which is kind of cool. So maybe in the very, you know, in the distant future, we'll share that with some people. Just, you know, I think it's kind of neat to listen to a song that could have been something else, you know?
Absolutely. Or you'll have it as something else in the future for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I definitely want to hear it. I feel like I should be one of those people to hear it for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So would you say that you guys write any songs about what's happening around you externally, or is it mainly come like internally? Is it like something that comes in your head, or do you like look out at the world and like see what's going on and go like fuck and then write something? How do you feel?
No, it's like, yeah, it's all
like where it comes from.
Yeah, it's all internally. It's all like what I'm feeling in the moment. Like, because I feel like when I've tried to write about external stuff and it can work, but it's not, I feel like when I try that, it never comes out quite as good as versus when I write about something that I'm actually feeling. Because when I'm feeling something, that means maybe somebody else is feeling that too. And then there's already that connection, you know what I mean? So like people can relate to the song. They understand like what you said, you know, like you were talking about the lyrics and how it made you feel. And that's like the most important thing to me. I want people to like feel what I'm saying. I don't want to like, I never wanted to be like a musician to be like rich and famous. I mean, look at my social media. It's hard for me to like pay attention to it because it just doesn't feel real to me. But I've always wanted people to just feel what I'm saying. I don't care about the money and all that stuff. I mean, obviously we need to survive, but I just wanted people to feel me and hear me, and so hopefully it's working a little bit.
Absolutely. You guys are so loved. I've been at metal shows recently and everyone's kind of talking about you guys, and people are so excited about you guys and what you're doing. Even my bartender friend at Come and Take It Live, love that bar. I was at another metal show and he was just like, you know who I really like? I really like After the Burial. That's who I really like. You know why I really like them? Blah, blah, blah. And it's just people are talking about you guys and people are so excited for the new music. And the new songs are so good. And it's just kind of making everyone go like, see, I love this fucking band. See? And I feel like that's the vibe with the new songs. It's like making everyone look around like at the room and go like, fucking love After the Burial. Yeah, see, I fucking love this band. And that's how it feels to me. So
That's awesome. And that feels great to hear. And that's, we're just writing what we love. We're not trying to change our sound. We're not trying to be the next. I mean, we can name so many bands. We're not trying to sound like, we're not trying to make that next step, I guess, if you will, by sounding like someone else. It's like, we're going to be us, and just hopefully that's what you want, hopefully that's what people want.
Absolutely. And I'm such a lyrics person. Can we do more lyrics from?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. So these are the two new songs. We did, Nothing Gold and Death Keeps Us From Living lyrics. One anthem. Death keeps us from living, buried with these scars. It tears us apart. Inhale the burn of drifting embers of the distant fires we remember. Death keeps us from living. So is that the COVID song?
That's actually not the COVID song. That's the Anthony, the singer of After the Burial, has struggled with death and people dying in his life, and the fear of death and the fear of taking chances and the fear of, just, I guess, really death, like just ruining things for me, giving me like, I guess, like I'm a person that struggles with mental health. So it's kind of like this, I just felt like it's very on the nose, like death keeps us from living, buried with these scars. It tears us apart. So inhale the burning embers of the distant pyres we remember. The pyres are the people that I've lost in my life. Justin, our guitar player, my best friend when I was really young, he was murdered, and just, I've had a lot of loss in my life. And, even the beginning of the song, I've been through hell. It's like, that's how the song starts. And it's like, I'm trying to let people know that, hey, like, I've been there too. Like, you're fucking not alone. Like, I've been to some really dark places and I'm still here. So fucking sing this song with me and feel it, and like, and embrace it, and just understand, like, it doesn't have to keep you from living. It can if you let it, but you can keep on living. You just have to move forward and keep moving forward 1 foot at a time. So yeah, that's what that song kind of wraps up.
That's beautiful. I love that. That's such a gift. Thank you so much for that. It's really wonderful. And I agree so much. And I was having this conversation with someone recently. I have a friend and she's just been in a really bad place for a really long time. And she's just kind of staying there. And the thing I was talking to her, she was like, this, and this. I was like, okay, well, this sucks. Are we going to stay here? No, we're not going to stay here. So we're going to like get out of this. So that's a great song. She doesn't like metal, but if she doesn't like metal, that would be a good song to send to her for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think life is so rough, but words that hard can make you invincible if you internalize them enough. That's how I've always looked at metal, and like looked at it like my armor, and I
Yeah.
wrapped these words around my body, and I felt okay.
Yeah. Seeing, what you said about, hey, like, to your friend, like, were we just going to stay here or let's get out of here? And I talked about this on stage a lot, like I always call it like finding the light, or like, like I tell people like, hey, like if you can climb out of the hole, once you get out of there, turn around and look. And if you have someone else that needs a hand, reach out and pull them out of that hole too. And it creates this domino effect of, like, hey, you're not alone. I got you. Grab on. Like, we're going to do this together, sort of thing. So, it's like, sometimes it's like hard to see out, like if you're covered and if you're down in a hole, you can't see out of it until you get up out of it. So sometimes you need a hand to get out of there. So it's kind of, I always try to tell people like, just let people know they're not alone. I know that's what everyone says, but really it's the truth,
Absolutely. And the last, no, not the last time, 2 times ago. But I saw you guys on the Black Dahlia tour, and Trevor's no longer with us. And
Yeah.
one thing I kind of like to just talk about, I guess you just kind of covered it, but like words you would say to someone who like doesn't want to be here anymore. I don't know. I guess that's like what you just covered though, right?
Yeah, but it's like, I guess like, I was just reading about, someone had a really good explanation about this the other day. I wish I could recall it, but all I could say is that, it's the same thing. Like if someone's like, doesn't want to be here anymore, it's like, you're kind of giving up on the hope that like something can change, and something can change. I've seen it happen. I've been there. I'm like walking evidence, and I know like I've been in some really dark places, and you're kind of giving up on the hope that something can change, whether or not it's just like within yourself, or like even like like with technology and like science, like it's moving forward. Because like, what if 10 years from now there's a fucking cure for all this shit? Like, because a lot of people suffer from depression, some people have bipolar disorder, some people have high anxiety and like a bunch of other things. It's like, what if all of a sudden 10, 15 years from now there's a cure for this, and you can just live this great life? So it's like you're giving up on the hope of a better future. And when you give up, what's going to happen. Well, you don't really know what's going to happen. Like we know some people have their religious beliefs, and some people have their other ideas of what happens, and I don't know. So it's like, but we know that you're no longer going to be able to talk to us anymore. We know that for sure. But I don't know. I just think, just wait, just keep waiting.
Okay. So this is going to be a very hard question just to pick, but what would you say is or a couple of the most personal after the burial songs or lyrics that are just so personal to you?
Nothing Gold, really hits home. We have a song on Wolves Within called Disconnect, and it was one of my favorite songs we've ever written. I thought it was just like it has like everything in there. Like it's like after the burial, like all the shit we love, like me and Trent and Justin at the time too, because he was there for Wolves Within. So those songs, they just like mean so much to me. And then 1126 off our album Evergreen was written for my daughter. The 1126 is her birthday. So the whole song is written about her, and just like her growing up, and like like there's a lyric that's like, what is it? And when you bloom, will you leave her behind? Caught in the doom, innocence left behind. And I'm talking about like, when she blooms, when she gets older, are you going to still be this like sweet, loving little girl that's like happy and so like just loves everybody and just makes everybody so bright, because the world, like, I feel like sometimes as you get older, it can really like muddle things and darken things. And like, and the song was like, that lyric was about her, like, my worry as being her dad, because we want to protect our loved ones. We never want them to be embarrassed. We never want them to be hurt or like made fun of, or, because these kids are going into high school and stuff. And so it's just like, I just want her to, I'm like, the lyric was just about hoping that she stays pure for the rest of her life. It's like that concern that I guess parents have as they get older.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just it's the light you have before the world gets a hold of you, kind of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really intense. Have you ever heard that song, Zoe Jane and Stain song? It's about her daughter. It's a beautiful song. Love that song. Beautiful, beautiful song.
Yeah, you'll have to text it to me after and
Yeah, and
give it a listen.
Such a pretty song. Your dad would love it for sure.
Yeah.
So I want to talk more about the music, but let's first kind of hop back, talk about your life a little bit. So where are you from and what kind of kid were you growing up?
Okay. I was born in Berkeley, California. So I grew up in the Bay Area. I used to live in Oakland when I was a little kid. And then I grew up most of my life in a town next to Berkeley, a little city called Castro Valley. That's where I grew up. I was a really poor kid. I didn't have much, like, at all. We had a big family. My dad did the best he could. My mom was always sick. So, my dad was raising, it was me and my sister, Jennifer. And then when my cousins were, when I was in the fourth grade, my cousin's parents passed away. And I inherited my cousin Andrea, who became my sister, basically, and then my cousin Gina. And then I have a half sister, Tina, who lived with us with her two daughters, Justine and Danielle. So I grew up in a house full of 7 women, and it was me and my dad. And I was a fucking wild kid. I was doing drugs at a really early age, getting in fist fights, and just wild little shithead. Like, when you grow up in the Bay Area, the way I grew up, it was the people I was around. It was easy to get caught up into this lifestyle of, like, we didn't have much. So, like, we used to, like, steal cars and, like, rob houses. And, like, we were bad kids and we just didn't know any better. We didn't have, and this is like high school, middle school stuff. Like, I was dropping ass in middle school, and this is like horrible thing to do for like for your, a kid that's developing. It's like a horrible thing to be doing. And I just had no, I was too wild, and my mom knew and my dad knew that if they tried to, like, restrain me, I would run. And I did before, because they tried to take me to rehab and stuff, and I took off. But you know what, man? When I was 19, I quit everything. So it's like almost got it out of my system. And I was straight edge for like 13 years, about 13, 14 years. I was straight edge. And then I started smoking weed again. And then I don't drink anymore at all. I'll never drink again. But yeah, I was just a wild kid when I was growing up. And I was still a sweet kid. Like, I loved my friends so much. And I had a big group of friends. I still have, like, my group of friends. Like, if you come out and were to like see me hanging with my friends, it's like, hey, this is Chris. I've known him since the 3rd grade. Hey, this is Lex. I've known him since the 3rd grade. This is Jared. I've known him since 7th grade. So it's like, I have these friends that I've had for a really long time, and we're a super close group. And really, it sounds so freaking cheesy, because I was headed down the wrong path. Like, when I was younger, there was times where I had, like, guns under my bed and stuff, because I thought people were coming to kill me, because there was fights involved and gang related shit. And it was just crazy. And music seriously saved my freaking life. Like, I would probably have ended up in jail, or dead like my friend who was murdered when I was 21. It's like I I was heading down the wrong path, and I finally was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm so tired of living like this. And I moved away like 15, 20 miles to a little town called Livermore in California. It's like in the East Bay. And that changed everything. I got away and I just chased music. And here I am now. I'm complete 180 of who I used to be.
Well, with that, all of that life experience, you can pretty much, you can draw a very deep well of life experience and passion and things that drive you. So that was actually my next question. How did you find heavy music and what has it given you? So that's kind of the gift. It's given you a different life, right?
Yeah, it gave me a different life. And, it all happened on accident because I used to even though like we were running, like, man, the people I used to hang with, you'd be like, no way, like, no way. Like the stories I tell, like when I first joined the band, they'd be like, no way, no way. And then like a friend would show up, like, dude, remember when we did this? I'm like, I told you, like, I'm not lying, man. It was crazy. But, like even then I still loved like punk rock. And that's really what happened. Like I used to love like all the Fat Records bands, like No Effects and Strung Out and No Use for a Name. Those are like my bands. And then like listening to them, like I would listen to some like hardcore punk and like, oh shit, what is this? And then like, oh, what's hardcore? Oh, and I'd start finding out all these new bands and like, used to listen to AFI a bunch when I was younger. They're from Berkeley. They're from the Bay Area. Actually, they're from like Petaluma, around that area. But yeah, so like I grew up and accidentally we were having band practice once and I tried to hit a high note singing and I couldn't hit it and I started screaming on accident. And I remember the guys I was in a band with and we're still best friends to this day. They were like, can you do that again? I was like, I'll try. And then everything just started to shift. Then I started listening to metalcore. And then I started to listen to metal and it just, everything kind of changed. And I was like, oh, I want to do this so bad. And we used to go to shows all the time. I lived at the venue. Like every weekend we were at the Pound in San Francisco. That was like our local venue back then. There was always a 924 Gilman. Like, Gilman Street was a big venue, but like the Pound was like our home away from home. And that was like, that's just like how I grew up, That's what really saved me eventually.
That's awesome. So what were some other bands that you were into? I'm curious.
Okay, so like I loved AFI. One of my best friends, his brother was in a band called the Nerve Agents, and they were like a hardcore punk band. We used to listen to them a bunch. And I loved like Comeback Kid, Bane, Ensign, man. Then, once I started listening to like metalcore, it was like It Dies Today. Like it was anything that was like just heavy and like it was all so exciting and new. So it was like, and everyone was always trying to find like the coolest band. Like, oh, I found this new band. Like, oh, that's the band Anthony found. You know what I mean? Or it's like, oh, Ryan found this band. It was just like, so like, it was just all sorts of stuff. But really, I grew up on a lot of like, Bane was like Bane, Give Blood, their album Give Blood. It's like, I can listen to that record to this day and get the chills and know exactly where I was when I heard that song. And like, there's a lyric in one of their songs where he talks about going to the Audi dealership and smashing windshields. It was, and I was like a violent, immature act, but it quieted our minds at a time when everyone was asking why are we here? That's the lyric in the song. And I felt that so much at that time. It was just like, I had so much like anger and like angst and like life was unfair to me. It's like I was poor, I didn't have shit, and like I was, like people called me white trash and like a loser, and like I was, just like it was just like I had so much in me. I needed to get out, and that's what heavy music was for me. It was like this release to get all this out of me. I felt alive when I heard this music.
Absolutely. I relate to that so much. I come from a physically abusive household and I was able to like run to shows. Like and run. I could like run to 7 shows and like run to Drowning Pool shows. And I would like literally go there. I was like really good friends with everyone. I would just like lock my heels in the barricade, windmill my ass off, and fucking get it all out and like cry and scream and everything. And if I did not have that, I feel like I would be a completely fucked up person.
Yeah.
And because I had that like right at the time when I really, really, really needed it, I feel fine. And like a lot of the issues that people have when they came from like a background like I had, I just don't have those. And I just thank God, like, and I'm, so bad for anyone who does or still struggles with it. But because of the heaviness that matched what I was feeling, I was able to kind of like work all of that out and not be as fucked up as I was. So such a gift. Thank you so much.
I'm glad you made it out.
Your contribution, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you joined the band in 2008, I believe, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So rather than make up my own questions about your music, I wanted to kind of go album by album and just kind of look back in time and talk about like that time period musically, just like kind of what you were feeling and going through during that time. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So
I'll do my best to remember.
Yeah. So Rare Form, you did. Okay. Editor, edit this out. Rare Form, you did sing on that one, right?
Yes, I did. I did the re-release.
Okay, cool. So let's talk Rare Form.
So when Rare Form happened, I hadn't joined the band yet when they released Rare Form. I didn't even know. So I met After the Burial when I was in a band from Castro Valley called Only in Dreams. We were like a post-hardcore band. Like we sang, we had heavy parts, and I didn't sing. I can't sing, but like our guitar player sing. He's my best friend, best man at my wedding, still best friends today. He sang in the band, and I didn't even know they were looking for a new singer because we had met on tour together before they After the Burial had gotten signed, and Nick, their original vocalist, who was on Forging a Future Self, who's still one of my close friends, comes out here and visits all the time. He couldn't commit. He's like, I don't want to live this life of being on the road. So they got a new singer. For some reason, that didn't work out with that guy. And I ended up in the band, like all of a sudden. And Sumerian Records, this was like 6 months after the album got released, or 4 months or something out after the album got released. I joined the band, and Sumerian Records was like, hey, Guitar Hero, which was really big at the time. They're like, hey, we're doing this thing with Guitar Hero, and they want your songs on there so people can download the song and play and learn your songs or play them on Guitar Hero. Can you guys re-record Aspiration with Anthony's voice? And they were like, yeah, that'd be cool. So we go into the studio, re-record Aspiration. We send it to Sumerian. Sumerian goes, this is fucking great. We want you to do the whole album. We're like, really? And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's awesome. Yeah. So we recorded the whole freaking album again. And I remember reading the lyrics to the songs. I was like, Trent, like, these are actually really good lyrics, man. Like, I'm not like, I know the guy's not in the band anymore, but these are really good lyrics. And Trent was like, dude, I wrote all those lyrics. I was like, you wrote these lyrics? He's like, I wrote every single lyric, all the vocal patterns on Rare Form. So if people don't know that, they'll find that out here, that Trent wrote all the vocals for Rare Form, except for Berserker. Nick Wellner, the original vocalist, I believe he wrote Berserker before he had exited the band, and that song made it to Rare Form. So yeah, it was kind of a cool thing that happened. It was just like, we were supposed to be one song, and then it ended up into a whole album. So it was kind of flattering.
That's awesome. So you're that good, huh?
Yeah, I listen back and I'm like, oh man, I thought I was good back then. I had no idea, but it was 2008. We all grow and get better.
I know. We're recording a podcast on Zoom right now. In 2020.
That's all right.
Yeah, right.
That's all right.
Alrighty, so let's talk In Dreams.
So In Dreams was the first record I was able to like write with the band, and I don't know if I'll get slack for this, but you know what? I'm just gonna be honest because I don't give a shit. It is what it is, like we're human beings, and we try to, like some people love that record, but when that record got written, the band was separated. So like it had the guys in Minnesota, and I had to fly to New Jersey and write all the lyrics and vocals with someone else. um, my friend Ryan, actually, he came with me. uh, we went out, so we were separate, and the vocals got produced separately. And I think at that time, the band was kind of thinking about like adding like different nuances, like singing. We started singing a little bit, actually a lot of it on that record. And um, at the time, you know, looking back, obviously, because hindsight's always 2020. I feel like that wasn't the thing to do. That wasn't after the burial in true form, but we did get to experiment and try something new, and it was interesting. But in the end, it's not who we are. I don't feel like that's not us. At least not that style. I'm not opposed to singing at all, but I don't. For me, I'm not the type of person as like, and I'm not knocking anyone that does this. That's like, who the fuck am I? But I'm just saying, for me, for after the burial, I don't want to just put singing parts in for there to be a singing part. And I think that's kind of what happened on In Dreams a little bit. There's some cool songs on there, and there's some good lyrics and stuff. It just it wasn't after the burial in their true form, I don't think.
Absolutely. And Wolves Within.
Okay, so Wolves Within is one of those albums that like,
show off your water bottle, by the way. It's such a pretty color. Like,
oh yeah, this blue one. I think it's
yeah,
my friends. Yeah, it's got their CCA. This is like a fishery out here in Florida that like take care of the fisheries out here and like make sure the water's clean and stuff. So it's a nice little water bottle.
I have a coffee mug for my best friend's insurance. It's her family's insurance agency, and it's called Clifton Insurance Agency. So they give out CIA mugs because it's CIA.
Oh, that's cool. Nice. Walk around with it like you're in the CIA.
So I decided giving it a breather a little bit, a little water breather. Yeah. Okay, cool. Before we got into Wolves Within. All right.
Wolves Within was I remember where I was when that record was written. I was sleeping on Justin's couch in Minnesota. I stayed on his couch for about a month that year, or yeah, during that recording. And Nick Wellner, the original vocalist, actually came in and helped me with some patterns and stuff. Because sometimes for me, I can write all day. Like, I love being in control of the lyrics, and I love writing. But sometimes I'll hear a part a certain way, and I go like, "Oh, guys, I need someone else to think of a pattern because I'm stuck in this pattern. Get me out of it with a different one." So Nick Wellner came in. He was like, "Yo," and he came in to help, and we worked on the vocals of that record together. But I love that record, and there's so many cool songs on that record, like Disconnect, Neo Soul, Pennyweight. There's really great songs on that record. I wish we had the stems for that record. Those stems are gone. That record is gone. We don't have it. Like, it unfortunately was on a hard drive that we can no longer get anymore. So it's gone. So like, I wish we could go back and like remix it and master it, because at the time we were having a trouble with people wanting to master the record. And then Justin ended up Justin ended up doing it himself. And it just didn't sonically, it didn't turn out the way we wanted. But still, even then, Neo Soul's like one of our biggest songs off that record. Wolf Amongst Ravens. There's like really great songs on that record. I think it just gets overlooked because of the sound quality, which I understand. It's funny because someone just mentioned, I mean, this will probably never happen, but someone mentioned, they're like, "Yeah, but you could re-record it." And I'm like, we could do that, but it's a lot of work.
That's a lot to go through. That's so funny to hear you say, because most people like it when something's gritty. Those people like love and they die for the demos where it may sound like shit, but you're like, it sounds like shit. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
I like that gritty. So that's funny that people give you that kind of feedback.
Yeah.
Rude. Okay. Dig Deep, the most beautiful album cover artwork ever, by the way.
Awesome. Thank you. That was my little concept. That was my concept. But yeah. But
yeah, it brings you in. It really does. It's very entrancing. I love it.
Yeah, Daniel McBride, he designed that. He's done a bunch of albums for us. He's a good friend of ours. He's awesome. He's super talented. But I had this like idea of this like lantern buried under the ground with all these roots digging around it. And that's, obviously the album Dig Deep. At the time, Justin had just passed away. So we had, this one's kind, I don't know, it's kind of long-winded, but after the burial during that year was not doing well at all. Like we were getting very bad tour offers. We were struggling to make ends meet. We'd just gotten a tour offer that was like, to this day, I still have kind of like a little, when I talk about it, you'll kind of see me get like kind of salty about it. And I'm not going to say anything because it might hurt some feelings of some people, but, I'm not going to mention which tour it was, but the tour never happened. But it was just really low money. And we just felt like, we kind of felt like we were like a band that was on the back burner. And I flew up to New Jersey to Will Putney's studio, and I got picked up by our drummer Dan Call, and we're talking in the van. Everything's fine. I talked to all the guys a couple days before as they were driving all the gear from Minnesota to New Jersey to record this new album. And as we pull up to the studio, Trent, Trent, our guitar player, was sitting on the ground smoking a cigarette. I'm looking at Trent. I'm like, what's Trent doing? And then Dan looks at me and he goes, hey, I need to talk to you. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, are these just about to kick me out of the band? Why'd they fly me up here to kick me out of the band? That's like my immediate thought. I'm like, something's not right. And he goes, something happened with Justin. He was here at the studio. We don't know what the hell's going on. He flew home. It's like, I know things are really hard right now. And we were in a bad place. Like, it was kind of like we were just hanging on by a thread. And he's like, listen, man, if you want to go home, I totally get it. We totally get it. But Justin's gone. We don't know if he's coming back. We don't know what's going on. We're very in the dark. But Trent and I are here. And if you want to write a record, we're here. And I looked at Dan, I looked at Trent, I was like, do you guys want to write a record? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, then let's write a record. I'm here. Let's do this. But, at least let's give it one last shot. And me and Trent wrote Dig Deep in 30 days. And it was crazy because we didn't know like what was going to happen. We were just like, all right, this is probably, this might be the last one we do. And we finished the record somehow, and there ended up being these really cool songs on the record. And I remember thinking like, what's going to happen here? And then we get home we finished the record somehow, and I get home, and about a week later, Justin had killed himself. And there was all this like, obviously we're fucking crushed. And so it was like, okay, well now what? Do we just give it up? or we thought about maybe, just be like, fuck it, let's just hang up our gloves. We thought about disbanding after the burial and starting something new under a different name. And we kind of just sat for a while and kind of just like waited, and like Samari Records was kind of waiting on us. Everyone kind of was really patient with us because we didn't know what we were going to do. And we had another conversation a couple weeks later, and we were just like, what would Justin want us to do? Would he want us to stop playing music? Because I know if something happened to me, I wouldn't want the guys to stop playing. Like, I would want them to keep going. And we said, let's give it one more chance. It ended up being our biggest fucking record ever. And Lost in the Static came out, and just, I don't know, I wish I knew how to recreate that, because I would do it on every song, but somehow like that song just spoke to everybody, and still one of our biggest freaking songs ever. It's our biggest record, and I'm so thankful for, all the support we've gotten on that record, and all the people that come up and like, dude, Dig Deep saved me, like Dig Deep helped me so much. And that's what that whole album title is about, that like, dig deep, don't give up. There's light down there. There's light. It might be buried, but you got to dig and find it. And then when you find it, grab that fucking lantern and hold it up for the rest of the people that need to see. Because sometimes you got to light the way,
Absolutely. Wow. Well, I guess like it never gets easier talking about it, does it? Because I've heard you talk about it, and it's like, do you, of course, like, you wouldn't want less music in the world. You would want more music in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so like bittersweet just thinking about, that being like the biggest record, and just his memory must be like such a big presence, in your career, and like in the room when you go play, it must be like such a presence all the time for you guys, I would assume.
All the time. It's like, you can't not think about the guy, especially being up there. Laurentian Ghost is basically, it's a Minnesota song, but it's really just like, it has him. Like, I feel like every time we play that song, he's playing it with us, like that melody in the beginning of Laurentian Ghost is like, it's a little melody Justin used to play all the time when we would be like sound checking. I remember I'd be so tired, I'd walk in. I don't sound check anymore, I hate it, but when I used to, I'd walk in and he'd be just like line checking. He'd be playing this really beautiful melody, and then Trent took the melody and sped it up and turned it into what it is now. So Justin, he'll always be there, and we'll never replace him. We'll always be a 4-piece without him.
I love the survival and the success, and like the push to keep going that you keep talking about. That's like really hitting me like heavily right now. It's like,
yeah,
it's a very,
it's just real, it's just what happened to us. And it's living proof. There you go. Living proof. Don't give up. Keep going. Like you're giving up on the opportunity of things getting better, and things got better for us, and they are better still to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's sad. Well, it's bittersweet.
Mm-hmm.
It's very bittersweet, and that it is true.
Yeah.
There's I kind of asked Maddie from Memphis Mayfire, like kind of along the same lines, like kind of what he thought about it. And his words were just kind of reminding me, he was like, and there is joy, and there is beauty, and there is pain. And there are a lot of questions that you may have, but like the answer is never to not be here anymore. And I just like love that he said that. And I just was reminding me in my head right now.
Yeah, well spoken.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, and other album we want to touch on, I know you love it, Evergreen. Let's talk about
Evergreen. Yeah, so it's Evergreen, like it was, that was our album in 2019. That was our most recent release. And evergreen is just, we had, it was our answer to Dig Deep. But to me, it was like this kind of continuation of Dig Deep. Like, what happens? Like, the whole concept behind the album Evergreen is like, um, like, I know that a lot of the trees, like evergreen trees, like redwoods, sequoias and stuff, they communicate with each other. So when you see like one tree and you see another one, that's not two separate trees. They're all connected. And that's what the redwoods is. And that's what you see, like when you see all these massive, dense forests. It's like, that's one singular, like that's one thing. And they communicate and they talk. And that's where like the concept behind naming the album Evergreen was, we travel all over the world and we plant seeds everywhere. And, like when you're not down in the dirt, you can become like one of these evergreen trees. It's like when you picture the art behind Dig Deep with the lantern being buried under these roots, and then you have these giant evergreen trees that are growing. That's what it meant. Was like that that somehow, some way, maybe like when we're out touring and we're out playing music, that we touch somebody like in their soul, and they relay the message to somebody else, and they relay the message to somebody else, and they relay the message to somebody else. And that's what we were hoping to get with the name of that album. And then we wrote the song Behold the Crown, which was like the song that everybody like teases, but they love at the same time. And the song just worked, and it was a really big song. And we had Exit Exist that we released on there as one of our singles, I believe. And it was just a really good record. We were in a good place when we wrote it. And the only like bummer about that record is we released the freaking record, and then 2020 happened the next year. Like, we didn't even get to tour on the record, and then the pandy happened, and then it was 2 years before we got to go back on the road. So it's like, man, now it had been like 3 years since the record had come out. So here we are now. And we were like, it's been 4 years since they did anything. And it's like, we also lost 2 of those years, So, but I love that record, and there's some really good lyrics in there. And I wrote 1126 in there, which is a song about my daughter. And there's lyrics to my mom in there. There's like little like teasers here and there, and it turned out to be a good record.
What are some of your favorite lyrics off of that record?
Oh man, I would have to literally pull them up and go through them, because it's hard for me to like think like on the top of my head.
I don't have to remember off the top of my head, so it's easy. I've got like a few in my head that I always remember, but you have more. We'll let you off the hook for that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to talk about some of the best tours that you've ever been on. Fun-wise, show-wise, crowd-wise, what it did for the band. So what are like some of the funnest tours you've ever been on?
Oh man. There's freaking so many of them. It's all the ones with our like close friends. Like, we love the guys in Born of Osiris. Those are our good buddies. So like anytime we're touring together, it's just like friendship and fun. Our friends in Australia, Make Them Suffer. Like, we love those guys. Like, they're so like,
I like that.
They're so yeah, and they're so good and so cool, and just like genuinely just good people. Like, like Jaya just sent me a voice message the other day and had me rolling, like, it's just, they're just great people. And I feel bad because I don't want to leave anybody out, but like, my favorite tours are the funnest tours for me are the tours with our friends, so like Bala Maya, Born of Osiris, Make Them Suffer. I mean, we're friends with all the bands that we end up touring with, like Spirit Box. Those are our good friends. Like, we're like, when they blew up, I was like, dude, I'm so happy for you guys. Like, they're so cool and just genuinely good people. So like, we knew it was going to happen anyways. Like, because we had just done the European tour with them, and then the world got shut down. But I remember being like, dude, you guys are like legitimately good. Like, and they're like, oh, thank you. I'm like, no, seriously, like you guys are like a really freaking good band. Like, just don't, like, just, hey, chill, you're good. And all of a sudden they're just like the biggest freaking band. Yeah. I was like, you guys got this. Yeah.
Yeah. And as a woman, during the pandemic, that was funny. I'm gonna start using that pandemic. There's just not too many artists, that like you can just throw on, and like boys are cool and all, but just being able to throw on headphones and not having to listen to a man's voice, and just being able to like zone out and walk my dogs for like an hour and a half, something like that, and just walk around and have like a woman's voice going on. Like her voice feels like my internal dialogue so much.
Yep.
And it has for a really long time. And I've adopted it. I've adopted their music into my psyche. Then it's like her lyrics were like my words, my thoughts.
Yeah.
It's comforting and soothing and beautiful and heavy and hard.
Yeah.
But it's really fucking cool. It's just like, men are great, love you. But it's wonderful to have a woman that's heavy as fuck, because I love heavy as fuck. Like, that's what I like, really like. Death metal and like heavy music and metal, to me, it really sounds light to me because I like it so much. It sounds like it's like easy listening to me, and it doesn't like make me anywhere, so I have to have the heavy. But just as a woman having that, it's so fucking cool. So,
yeah, totally. I get it.
And that's gonna be so exciting and so fun.
Yeah. I totally get that. I have a daughter, she's 15. And I was just I just came from her she plays flag football for her high school. So like where we live in Florida, the high schools have like legitimate flag football teams for the girls. Yeah. And there's referees and everything. It's not just like this little like after school sort of thing. Like it's like she's on the JV team. She's a freshman, and it's important for young girls to have a role model like Courtney. And like, so like, I think it's super important, and I understand that. So like, I'm always like on the lookout for my daughter's sake. Like, hey, look how badass this girl is. You can be fucking badass too, especially in an industry that's dominated by men, and like, even with like athletes, like she's an athlete, my daughter. And, so like, we're always like, look how badass this girl is. Like, she's like, look at what she's doing. Like, you can do that too. So it's super important, because there's, the way the world is, like, and a lot of men rule that aspect, like a good majority. So when you have like the women in there, she can ask. Like, we watch the UFC all the time, and my daughter used to do jiu-jitsu, like, so she'll watch the fights, and I'm just like, these women, like, look at how badass they are. They're up there, they're getting it, and they're fighting extremely good. It's just as entertaining, if not better, like. So like, I think it's super important,
Yeah, and actually Flyleaf is coming back around. Are you excited about Flyleaf? Does your daughter know about Flyleaf at all?
No, she doesn't. What is it? I don't even know about it. What is it?
What? You don't know the band Flyleaf with Lacey Stern?
No.
Oh, well, I'll send you. Okay. Oh, great.
You're gonna send me that too.
I didn't even know there were people in the world who didn't know about it. I love it.
Yeah. So funny. I'm always on the lookout for new music, so send it my way.
So it was old music, went away for a while, and now she's back. So a beautiful predecessor for Spirit Box, I would say, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. So do your daughter and your wife have a favorite After the Burial song?
My wife actually loves her new song, Nothing Gold. She's just like, she loves Lost in the Static, because she's like, it just gets stuck in my head. Like, she'll like be like, ding 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 ding. Like, she'll do the parts and stuff, and like to me, like, joking around. My wife's a really talented musician. For her whole side of her family, like, great musicians. Like, my wife plays we'll play the guitar together all the time. She teaches me songs and shit. She's super talented. She could sing. All her sisters can sing, play guitar. Her dad's a badass bluegrass musician. Her mom's a badass bluegrass musician. they're super talented, but she loves Nothing Gold like so much. And when she heard it, she's like, Anthony, I love like this song. Like you guys, like, she's like, I don't care what people say. Like you guys did it on this song. It's so catchy. And she's just like, I love it. Like it makes me feel. That's what she said. She's like, it really makes me feel. And I appreciate that coming from her because, you know, I respect her so much. And she's like my little, I admire my wife very much. Like she's like this strong, like badass powerhouse business owner, entrepreneur, beautiful woman. So it's like when she tells me something's cool, I'm like, thank you. I appreciate it. And it means a lot, you know?
Absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. That was the sweetest thing I've heard all day. I love that. It was so sweet. How did you and your wife end up meeting?
We actually, it's a cool story kind of. So one of my very close friends, he's one of my best friends. His name's Josh Correll. Josh Correll used to work for Motionless in White. He was the tour manager forever. We toured with Motionless in White years and years ago. And Josh and I became friends on the tour because he likes to fish and I'm a fishing nut. I love going fishing. I live in Florida, so like I go way offshore and go out in the ocean and stuff. But he was like, we had met and we became friends, and then Warped Tour happened. I think it was like 2011 Warped Tour, and we shared a bus with Motionless in White. And I had just broken up with a girl at the time. We decided to go our separate ways, and my brother-in-law Josh, or shit, I guess I'm spoiling the story, but my friend Josh was like, hey, I think you might like my girlfriend's sister. I'm like, dude, I just got out of a relationship like 2 weeks ago. But he's like, she's really cool. I think you might like her. He's like, she's coming out of Warped Tour. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, sure, whatever. Wasn't thinking much of it. Warped Tour, the days come out, she comes out, but he's like, oh man, she's dating somebody. She's got a guy with her. I'm like, oh, whatever, whatever. It doesn't matter. Don't even think anything of this. 2 years go by. I'm in Pensacola, Florida. We were on tour with Trivium and Devil Driver. And Josh and I are still friends. And he goes, he texts me. He's like, yo, why didn't you tell me you're in Pensacola? I'm like, you're on tour. That's where he lives. He lives in Pensacola. I was like, you're on tour, man. Why would I know you're on tour. He's like, yeah, I'm trying to hook you up with Ashley. I'm like, who the fuck is Ashley? And he's like, Melissa's sister. Melissa's his girlfriend. And I go, oh, he's like, send me your Instagram. I'm like, okay. And he's like, she wants to see what you look like. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. She looks at my Instagram. He's like, she thinks you're cute. And I'm like, he's like, here's her Instagram. I'm like, oh, she's pretty. Then he's like, it's 11 o'clock at night. The show's over. I'm like sitting in the green room, like resting. And he goes, here's her number. She said to text her. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, dude, it's 11 at night. Are you sure? He's like, dude, text her. And I'm like, all right, I'll text her. I'm not this kind of guy. So like, I send her a text message. I'm like, hi, Ashley. And she's like, hi. And we start talking. And she's like, at the time, like single mom. She's the type that wakes up 6 a.m. working, So she goes, you know what? I can go meet this guy, or I can go to sleep and I know exactly what tomorrow is going to be like. Or I can go take a chance and go out and just meet this guy for a drink. So she came out, met up with me, and I don't drink, but I went and had a drink with her. I had a soda water, and we talked all night. We ended up making out, and I had to go to Australia for a month right after that. Went to Australia. I invited her to come see me in California, and she made the leap, and she came up to California, and then she became my girlfriend on that trip. And then about 2 months later, I moved to Florida to be with her, and we are about to, on April 21st on this tour, it'll be our 5-year wedding anniversary. Wow. And Josh is now my brother-in-law, which is freaking crazy because they have a kid.
So pleased with himself for the rest of his life, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we always joke about why Josh got us together because on the surface, Josh comes across as like this kind of like abrasive guy, like he's very like, like his like when he was the tour manager, he'd be like, no fucking pictures, like to fans, because fans would surround that band. But he's like this big giant sweetheart underneath it all. So we always joke about how he was like, he played matchmaker for us, and it'll be almost 10 years how Ashley and I have been together. So
such a cute story. I love that. It's better than any Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
Made it work out for people. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we've got these massive, massive, massive shows coming up. Like, does a completely sold out tour in advance feel scary or weird or fun or exciting? What are you feeling for it?
I feel excited because there's no worry of like, not that I worry, but there's no like, oh, I hope this tour is good. It's like, well, the show is sold out, so the tour is going to be good. Like people are going to be there. So now it just lets us just focus on music, and that's what we're going to do. And I think people are going to get like, it's a stacked tour, like the 3 super talented bands. I'm super excited. I love Spirit Box. I'm super excited to hang out with them. It's just going to be good vibes all around. Like we got our crew back together, like, like our touring crew. We have a really great sound girl, and she kills it. And I'm just happy to be on the road again. Like I feel very lucky and fortunate to be doing this still.